we got to talk about DeepSeek before we run out of time. Lots of people, and you talk about this in the book as well, look at things including quantum computing and economic power and trade and tariff wars as a battle between the United States and China. And there's a lot of bipartisan support. I've heard people say, and I tend to agree with this, the one bipartisan thing that everyone seems to be able to agree on is no one can be hard enough on China. And China in the AI battle, as you alluded to already, is a significant player. So tell us what DeepSeek is and why it's freaking everybody the F out.
So DeepSeek is a open source model that was released by a Chinese development group that kind of has characteristics that are close in performance to kind of a leading release from OpenAI called O1. And the thing that freaked everyone out is not just that it came from China. It's like, oh, look, you're fully in the game and you're from China. But the claim around it was, and we did this for $6 million, right? And everyone,
right? Put that in. Can you just put that in perspective for people? If that is true, how does that compare to what some other folks that you mentioned have spent?
Well, it's kind of, roughly speaking, what people are familiar with, what Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, Anthropic, and others are doing is putting, billions of dollars into the computers and, many millions, tens of millions, even 100 million, 200 million into the compute runs in this. Now,
yeah, so compared to 6 million, that's more, right?
Yes, okay. A lot more, like tons more. So it's like,
right.
We have figured out how to have an EV car that goes for 10,000 miles per recharge, and the batteries are very cheap, right?
Yeah,
is kind of the thing. It's like, oh my God.
Right. So is that bullshit that it was $6 million?
Yeah, it's basically BS. Now, it's BS in two important ways. One is that as the story is scratched at, there's clearly a massive scale compute engagement to the creation of it, which is, either a lot of access to ChatGPT, which is a large scale model to distill it, or even, very big computers to actually run it. Because by the way, when I talk to experts from multiple AI companies, they say, look, yes, we could all do this kind of thing for $6 million as the last compute run in, $100 million of iterative compute. Yeah, we could do this too. And there were some good innovations. I don't want to steal the, efficiency innovations. That was one of the things that a lot of people like, because every single lab downloaded it, started playing with it, started to understand it, say, what are the things? Oh, we could use this, and oh, we could use this, as parts of doing. And so that was great, but it's like the whole fiction around big scale compute doesn't matter. No, it's like, no, it actually proves that it does versus it doesn't. And the whole, like, it's massively cheaper. It's like, no, actually, in fact, there's some good innovations here that add into it. So by the way, the technology competition with China is well and truly on, which is, I think, one of the good derivative points to this, but not that scale is irrelevant and, American companies are misspending in, profligate ways.
So we shouldn't be too worried about this, or we should?
Well, my point of view only changed in that DeepSeek is 6 to 12 months earlier than I thought it was going to be. There's no other update to my point of view on this. I think large models training small models is something we've known for at least 18 months, if not maybe 24. It's one of the things
that was going to happen. I mean, tell me if this is a very stupid analogy for a layperson like myself to understand. The Sony movies picture library, Sony Pictures movie library, whatever it consists of, say hundreds and hundreds of movies. You could say that cost them billions of dollars because they filmed them, they stored them, there were directors, there were actors, and then North Korea comes in and they somehow hack the library, but that still takes energy and time. Maybe it takes $6 million. And they say, look, we have a picture library too. Is this like that?
There may be elements that are like that. We don't know the full story, and I'm not meaning that to cast aspersion. It could be like that, but it's also that there's a lot of smart technology people. This is one of the things that I've been going around telling everyone is like, look, the game's on with China, and they say, oh no, you're kind of using. I literally was told today at a class in Columbia, you're using China as the bugbear, and it's like, no, it's there. The competition is real. This is not kind of self-justifying for why it's important that we continue aggressive and directed development in this stuff. And so I think that's real. The Chinese are enormously talented. A lot of tech entrepreneurs, a lot of deeply competent tech people. There's innovations in DeepSeek that we're learning from the AI labs here. But what is not the case is we figured out how to make the 5,000 mile EV, right? That's just not the case.
So we have just been through, and we're not done yet with an enormous controversy with TikTok and how it's a security threat, and our current president wanted to get rid of it. Now he wants to save it. It's unclear what's going to happen. But there's a broad consensus among American politicians, Republicans and Democrats, that there's a huge security issue if a Chinese government-backed and overseen app like TikTok, which seems innocuous on its face, is gathering information about everyone and can spread disinformation. What is the lesson of TikTok and those concerns for DeepSeek?
Actually, in that case, very similar, because if a lot of people started using DeepSeek as a service, all of that data and usage flows into the Chinese ecosystem.
Right.
And so, given that the Chinese,
bad?
Well, given that the Chinese are probably one of the world leaders in corporate espionage, if you're putting in,
I think they're number one.
Yes, exactly. So
you're being charitable.
Yes. And so you're like, well, if you're using it for serious cases and all the rest, it's a direct channel with a potential risk line. And so, it's one of the reasons why I think it's quite important to have, pretty solid companies governance on, that follow data privacy restrictions, such as our companies. And so I think that's at least one example of something that's, a substantial threat line.
LinkedIn has never stolen my information, sir. I want to thank you for that.
You're very welcome. We try to be.
It uses my information responsibly only. What about misinformation? I was going to ask you about it generally, but I've seen people post these examples with respect to queries of DeepSeek. Now, people have done it with ChatGPT and other things. Like, it seems to be a parlor game for people to try to query one of these chatbots to find the flaw or the bias in how it answers a prompt. And I saw people post the prompt, what was Tiananmen Square all about? What happened to the kid in front of the tank? And it refuses to answer, says it can't answer those questions. Is there anything to those examples?
Well, 100%. I mean, this is actually part of the reason why why it's important that artificial intelligence, not just amplification intelligence, but American intelligence for this, because the question around, kind of autocratic nation censorship in things to bolstering is, not good.